This is Bernie Borges, host of the Social Business Engine podcast, along with my co-host Dayle Hall, Senior Vice President of Marketing at Lithium Technologies. Welcome back to this UpClose series, the 5 most influential topics for B2B marketing. On episode 1, we covered influencer marketing, all hail marketing to influencers. On episode 2, we covered data overload and how do you harness it. So the focus of episode 3 is the digital customer experience is the new battleground. Dayle, welcome back, and where do you want to start on this big topic?
It's a very big topic, but something that's very near and dear to my heart. So I think for a while, people and brands and all of us that work in B2B organizations know that customer experience is important. But I think with the advent of mobile devices, with applications, with tablets and so on, what's become clear is that the device in your pocket has now escalated the need for brands to be present on digital. And so the way we think of it now is it's not really customer experience anymore, it's digital customer experience. And I feel that today's B2B marketers and the B2B landscape for brands, they have to be thinking digital first. And I'll tell you why. The way to deliver a better customer experience is to look where people are, look where they want to engage, and that's on digital channels. And that's the play. The reason we say it's the new battleground is that's where you can create differentiation. A product is a product. A product can be copied. A product can do something similar to another competitor. But the way you can really create differentiation is through your digital experience. So I'll give you a stat from Harvard Business Review. So those who have the best experiences will spend 140% more than those who have the poorest experiences.
140%.
They're going to spend 140% more if they have a better experience. And if you don't think that digital is the way to deliver that experience, then you should probably close this podcast, go find a mirror, take a long, hard look at yourself, then open the podcast again, and let's try that one again.
Wow. Yeah. Well,
sorry, that sounds. I don't mean to be aggressive with that, Bernie, but
that's an eye-opening statistic. So I think you've got everybody's attention, including mine.
That's great. That's great. So let's look at it. So some of the questions we ask ourselves now as digital B2B marketers. So how has my customer changed in the last few years? Where do they want to connect now? Well, consumers are searching for all this information. They're going everywhere. And basically, when they can't find what they're looking for, they will move to another brand, another website to help them find it. So here's the stat that backs that up. 29%, so almost a third of consumers will absolutely prefer communicating via a website, a blog, or through social, compared to 17% for in-store and 16% for email. That's a survey we ran recently. So I'm just going to reiterate that. Around a third of consumers prefer communicating via digital channels, and digital being web, blog, or social, than in-store or through an email. So so consumers are telling us that that's where they want to engage with you. So you absolutely better be looking at all those channels to make sure that the experience they receive and all your team that are actually potentially responding and engaging and building on those channels, that they know that is the battleground. That is where they can provide differentiation, and that's where they can actually differentiate that brand from the next brand. I mean, I was at an event yesterday, and there's a very nice lady from Facebook that says you have to capture people within 2 seconds on a digital channel. So
I thought it was 5. So
well, Facebook are telling me it's gone down.
Wow.
So
it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So you have 2 seconds to capture them. You've got to create a great experience online, like digital customer experience. How can it not be the next battleground if all these stats are to be believed? And I believe them because I'm seeing some of that in action at Lithium.
Yeah, I saw a stat recently. I think it's from Forbes. that over 90% of B2B buyers want to actually engage with brands that they want to do transactions with, preferably through digital versus talking to someone.
Absolutely. I use this stat. A similar poll we ran about a year ago was 66% of people call the call center as a last resort. And let me ask you, Bernie, when was the last time you called a call center?
I tweeted them, and then, like you said, the calling is a last resort because it always winds up being 45 minutes of my life that I never get back.
Right. And how many people out there do you think that said, "Oh, I called the call center last week"? How many people do you think say, "And that was an awesome experience. I cannot wait to call them back"?
Right.
Right. No one. Right. So call centers are important, and we're not saying they're not important. They are. They're a critical part of experience. But consumers, and you as an individual, and me, that's not our first choice. We want to actually solve some of this for ourselves, and we want to do it digitally. So it's very important. Now, the next step to that is, so once you understand that, so I ask myself, or we ask ourselves at Lithium, like, how can I activate these people? How can I activate these most passionate customers? And how do I actually then build that relationship? Well, the brands that put the brands that put their customers' wants, needs, and expectations really at the center of that experience, of that brand experience, of that digital customer experience, those are the ones that are going to win that long-term loyalty. And I have a stat to back that up. 73% of us will spend more if they love your brand. So 3/4 of us are saying that we will spend more with the brand if we love them. How do you get them to love them? You have to give them a great experience. That's the only thing. Products, okay, I can love a product, but I don't love a product as much as I love the experience of dealing with a brand, right? That's where the differentiation comes.
How the brand makes you feel.
Exactly.
So the whole love thing, it's an emotion.
Absolutely. So then the next thing I ask myself is, so how do I take advantage of all the data that I'm seeing across all these social channels, and how do I actually use that to engage those passionate customers? And by the way, can I measure the ROI, and can I get to know those customers better? So I have one more stat for you. So we're talking about how can I take advantage of all this data, really access these passionate customers. And by the way, how can I use this to measure ROI? Well, here comes the stat. So a brand's digital presence is also its strongest point of influence on purchase behavior. So the stat is, from this Harris poll that we just ran, which is the value of a happy customer, 1/3 of adults say they are likely to spend more on products and services from a brand that proactively communicates with them. So that's about a third. So that's about 30. I think it was 32%. But more than that, if the brand shares entertaining and engaging content with them on social channels, that is also 1/3 of adults will also spend money. They'll spend more with that brand. So communicating with them is one thing, but also what they're saying is, hey, you know what? Give me some entertaining and engaging content, and I don't care if that's on social channels. I'll engage with you, and I'll actually spend more. And this is the holy grail. This is what brands are looking at. They're all trying to say, how do I get ROI from social? This stat proves if you communicate with them and give them that entertaining, engaging content, they're telling you that if you do that over social channels and it's the right thing, they will spend more. That is perfect social ROI.
You know, Dayle, the name of this episode, the title of this episode is The Digital Customer Experience is the New Battleground. You know, if I can be a little aggressive here, it feels like we're at a point where just about all of us in all industries are almost commoditized, and it's the customer experiences where we have the opportunity to be different and to win loyalty.
I would say that is the theme of many brands, and it's definitely the one soundbite that everyone should take from this podcast, which is, if you can't differentiate over customer experience, or rather digital customer experience, then the chances are at some point you're going to see some marginalization of your business. You're going to start to see some fall off of maybe it won't start with sales, but it will start with people engaging with you online, with number of responses, with engagement you get to your digital activities, whether it's social or emails and so on. It will start to hit the bottom line. So I don't think you will say anything truer today than what you just said, Bernie.
Okay, I should quit while I'm ahead, but you're my co-host here. We want to showcase all that you've prepared to share with my listeners. So I know you've got a couple of customers prepared to explain how they're doing it right in a digital customer experience.
Absolutely. So I have two people to talk about. One is a little bit of, one's a huge company and one's slightly smaller. So Microsoft, their Power BI tools, so they moved all of their support to an online community, and they reduced the number of complaints to zero. Now,
zero?
Yeah.
As in zero?
As in zero. Now, that doesn't mean to say people didn't have some challenges or were frustration, but plain complaints around the product were moved down to nothing.
Wow.
Yeah. And by the way, they validated that customers actually want this self-service. They have a huge amount, over 100 million in case deflection savings, which means this is 100 million that they potentially have people calling into the call center, so they're saving it in terms of time and resources there. But also, and this for a marketer is huge, they've done an estimate, and again, this is in one of our yearly Lithium submissions. This is an annual awards that Lithium runs, that Microsoft have submitted for. They estimate they've also increased their SEO value by over $2 million. And
wow.
Yeah, being in marketing, if I could increase my SEO value simply without spending a ton on keyword assessment and agencies and so on, that is huge value for a marketing organization.
So if I can say that slightly different, Dayle, in other words, when you say an over $2 million SEO value, that's $2 million that they would have had to spend in paid promotion to achieve the rankings that they got in search engines. Is that right?
That's a great summary, Bernie. That's exactly right.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and then Zuora, so their strategy was posting common customer solutions in the community, which is a win-win situation, but it allows agents to work on more difficult issues. So it saves the organization about $500,000 a month, with about $6 million going from 2016 to 2017. So just by posting the solutions from customers, it means their experts can spend their time dealing with the more complex, more in-depth issues, because the simpler ones, the ones that customers have already solved, it's there for everyone to see. They don't have to have their call center actually regurgitating the same things that people have probably solved 15, 100 times in the last week.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Two fantastic examples of brands that are creating a great digital customer experience, as you pointed out. One large company, one not as large, but both excellent examples, Dayle. Thank you. So now, in keeping with your stylish personal brand, what I'd like to know is what is in style this season in this area of a digital customer experience?
Well, I would say we've mentioned it a few times. What's hot right now in the fashion sense of digital customer experience is the only differentiator from brands is experience. And the way to drive that experience, first and foremost, is digital first. People can always copy a product, but brands are starting to figure out that they will win. They'll win more customers, they'll have more savings, if they deliver that better digital customer experience. That is all over the runways this year.
Yep. Okay. What about the runways for next season on digital customer experience?
Well, I think we're going to start to see some real ROI and examples from how digital CX is delivering to brands. And I like to think of this in three different ways. So what's a fad, what's a failure, and what's flourishing? So I look at different types of technology and seeing, is it actually going to be something that takes off? Someone said to me, flares are coming back. I'm not sure they are. I don't think that fad, I think that is coming back. I think that's a failure. So if
flares?
flares, apparently. So that's why I'm just sticking with the fashion metaphor here. So if I look at that for digital customer experience and digital technology, I think what's a fad? Well, I think predictive analytics could be a fad. It's complex, it's hard to scale, and it's a little bit unproven. Now, I'm not saying that will go to being a failure, but it's a fad right now, and from talking to a lot of predictive intelligence analytics companies, it's just really hard to get going. So I think that coming towards the next season, that will either take off or it will start to flounder. And I'm sure I'm going to get some calls around that one. What do I think is a failure? Well, I think what hasn't worked is marketers, B2B marketers, just looking at what customers have purchased, what the transactions were, and then using that as their data point. We've talked about this in previous podcasts. We mentioned it today. You've got to look beyond just what a customer bought. You've got to look at who they're engaging with, what they're talking about on social, who are they influenced by, what are their hot topics. And you've got to build all that into your data models and just be better at understanding the customer. And then what's flourishing? Well, I just said it. The one thing that I see is flourishing is what B2B marketers are doing around social. Brands must be able to integrate everything that they're doing around those social channels. Those channels, and it doesn't matter whether you're talking about Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, they're growing. They're growing exponentially. There's new channels coming out all the time. So what's flourishing is any B2B marketer that is using and leveraging those channels, making sure they're learning the behavior and building that into their activities. Those marketers, those brands, that is the most flourishing fashion item right now.
Well, considering that 99% of brands are not leveraging that data and integrating it into their overall strategy, I would say that that's a great point on how that's flourishing. And Dayle, I think that's a great place for us to wrap episode 3. I just want to close by reminding everyone of the theme of this series, the 5 most influential topics for B2B marketing. This has been episode 3. The digital customer experience is the new battleground. I'm Bernie Borges, host of the Social Business Engine podcast, along with my co-host, Dayle Hall, Senior Vice President of Marketing at Lithium Technologies. Join us for episode 4 of this series, where we'll discuss the state of social engagement in 2017. Now remember, if you want to access all 5 episodes in this series in one recording, just go to socialbusinessengine.com and click on the UpClose On Demand podcast button. Dayle and I will see you on episode 4.